Welcome to the Golf Fitness Bomb Squad. I'm your host, Chris Finn, and today I have a special guest with me. He is the brains behind the orange ball that you see in every single golfer's back when they're on the range. Jim Hackenberg, the inventor, the founder, the man, the myth, everything behind the orange whip is here with me. Honored to have you on the show today, Jim.
Oh, I appreciate it, Chris. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I love talking golf and orange whip. So this would be great. Even wore my orange whip shirt for everybody.
I love it. My favorite part of this is we both live in the Carolinas, but we're both in the Midwest recording this. So, sometimes you got to go far to hang with friends, I guess.
Exactly.
But for people who don't know your story, I think it's a very interesting one as a fellow entrepreneur, and just the way that you came up with the whip. I know you're in North Dakota now. You're from North Dakota. How does a kid from North Dakota get into the golf business and come up with probably one of the most well-known training aids? For you guys are getting close to, it's got to be almost 2 decades now.
Yeah, 18. We're in our 18th year.
Jeez, how does that story take? For everyone who doesn't know, how do you go from there to where you are now?
Yeah, it may take a couple minutes here, but I think it's worth it. I think you'll appreciate the story. So I'm from a family of 9 kids. I was number 8 of 9 kids, and no one played golf. Parents didn't play, no siblings played. So some neighbor friends of mine, they started to play with their dads at about 12 years old. So I'd ride my bike out there with them and watch them. And then they'd give me a 5-wood or something. I just whack it down the fairway or the rough, and really started to get interested in the game. So when I turned 13, I wanted to go out there with them. So I bought some junky clubs from a garage sale and would go out there. And I knew within a month of that summer when I was 13 that I was also a baseball player since I was 4 years old. But after 1 month, I knew this baseball thing is taking too much time for this golf thing that I'm really getting into. Yeah. So I quit baseball and just pursued golf and just worked as hard as I could in the 5 or 6 months we have up here to play. But I advanced pretty quickly, and I got to be pretty good. And I wanted to play college golf. I'd done very well up in this region as a player, but I wanted to go south and play for a good team. Mm-hmm. So I moved to Arizona, did not go to school my first year. I worked on my game and just practiced half the day and worked half the day at a golf course and got better. So then I enrolled at Arizona State, and they have a walk-on qualifier for the Arizona State golf team, which was a top 5 team in the country at this point.
For sure. That's about when Phil was there, wasn't it?
Well, that's exactly it. When I won this walk-on qualifier, which was 60 kids, and you have to win it, and you have to have had your scoring average be better than the course rating for the 6 courses we played. Okay. So I won it. I was within that, and I got on the team, and that was Phil's freshman year.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so we played together a year and a half up there, and it was great. Awesome. I learned a lot watching Phil play. I mean, I'd never seen anybody like this before. It was unreal. And not just physically, but mentally. I mean, he was different. He was so positive and optimistic and forward-thinking. He was just, I'm going to make birdie from those trees over there, and I don't care. I'm going to do it. And it was pretty fun to experience. So that kind of got me going, and I ended up playing there a year and a half. Didn't want to leave Arizona State, but I was having a tough time breaking into that top 5. Yeah. So I transferred to Oregon State, which was still Pac-10, and played there for 2.5 years and did pretty well up there. And then, like everyone, I went and pursued the mini tours, tried to get going there. Didn't make it, so I got in the golf business. And in the golf business, I worked in the shop, worked in the bag rooms. I began teaching golf. And as a teacher, I was a very technical guy. I would read every book. I would listen to anybody and everybody about the golf swing. I would try to study these behaviors. So I was very technical, and I'd be willing to bet over half my students or lessons. I probably should owe them some money back because I probably made it harder for them than easier. And then I had a cool experience happen. One of the friends of mine that I used to play the mini tours with, and he's actually was originally from North Dakota as well. His name is Patrick Moore, and Patrick went on to play at University of North Carolina. He's an All-American there, and he ended up playing the mini tours for a while. Then he made it to the PGA Tour. He then called me and said, "Hey, I'd like you to caddy for me." And I wanted to make sure that I wanted to see that experience. That's where I was trying to get to. And it turns out that I went out and worked with him. And watching these people every day, these tour players hit balls, play, practice, I started to see the golf swing differently. I always had all these positions and points to be and different moments of impact and so on and so forth. And it was complicated. And I started noticing there was guys on that range that didn't appear to be thinking that hard. They were just making these rhythmic, balanced swings. Oh, I think it got unconnected. I don't know if that's from my end. You still there, Chris? Let me try it again here.
And we're good to go.
Okay. Yeah, so I had the opportunity to caddy on the PGA Tour for a good friend of mine, Patrick Moore. And while he was on the range, I was able to watch the best players in the world. And I had this technical mind, so I was looking at it from the technical viewpoint. But then started to notice there's a lot of guys like your John Daly's, your Boo Weekleys, your Jeff Ogilvy's. They have this rhythmic, balanced golf swing. And it looked so easy and effortless, and I could tell they didn't have the kind of thoughts I was having. So they started to intrigue me. So every time Pat would, if we played a practice round or a tournament round in the morning,
can you hear me now,
say,
Chris?
"Hey, Hack, meet me at the range at 2 o'clock." I'd get there at quarter to 2.
I don't know what happened.
Start looking up and down the range and find who I wanted to park the bag next to so I could watch them. And I had my favorites, and Jeff Ogilvy was the number one. If I could ever watch him hit balls, it made perfect sense as to what he was doing. So what I would watch for is it looked to me that he wasn't taking a golf club and putting it in all these positions. He was swinging the club as if it was a weighted ball on the end of a chain,
for sure.
Similar to that medieval weapon, the Mason chain, which is a handle, a chain, and a steel ball.
I may have to do this.
And I thought, boy, if I could swing a club like that where I let it load and then unload, I could whip all that momentum at a target. And, I was trying to have people understand it that I would teach on the side for income. And so I started to make something like that, but I quickly learned that you could really only swing that halfway to halfway, because as you go back, it wrap right around your neck, and that could be troublesome. So I switched to a fishing rod, flexibility, and that worked very well. And instead of a club face, which, especially me, my whole life thinking about the squareness of the club face at impact and all these thoughts, and I'm trying to control it at the very last second. And like the Dailies and the Jeff Ogilvy's and the Boo Weekleys didn't appear to be doing that. So I thought, I'm going to put a ball on the end of this so I eliminate that thought. If I trust that I have a good grip and my club face is square to dress, if I make a golf swing that's fluid and rhythmic and in balance, it should come back to the same place. So I put the ball there to allow the consideration of that club face to go away. And that club face also creates all those flying elbows and such because you're trying so hard to make it do something. So the ball became the idea, to swing that weight. And then I counterbalanced it because Ben Hogan and Jack Nicklaus, they used to counterbalance their clubs. They would take the grip off, put some lead weight in the butt end of the shaft, and put a grip over it. It's perfectly legal, but they didn't tell anybody because they thought it was a good idea, a secret to help keep them on plane. And so I started experimenting with additional weights on the end of it. And these weights, I used to use just Home Depot washers, like heavy washers that were big, and I could adjust. And just through trial and error, I came up with what I thought was the best. And I had some good friends of mine, this Pat Moore, the player, and then a lot of teachers and other good golfing friends. We experimented for a while one evening, and it's probably about 6 of us, and it probably took us about a case of beer. But after that, we had it all figured out as to how much weight. And when it was perfectly balanced, where the weight on each end is the same, that's when everyone said, that feels the best. Feels like I'm always on plane when I do it, and I'm always in balance. And you could get swinging it pretty fast once you kind of got everything in synchronization. So that became the initial Orange Whip, but it was never meant to be a product. It was just to help me teach. It was helping me get a message across. But my first 5 lessons with the high handicappers I was working with, right at the end of the lesson, they all said, hey, can I buy that thing from you?
Yeah.
And I kind of scratched my head because it was rough. Yeah. I mean, it was Home Depot parts, and I put it together. So it was pretty rough looking. But they were all intrigued by it. So that kind of turned on the light bulb for me. I thought, well, maybe I'm going to make these and see if I could sell them. And that's really how it all started. It was really to help my own game. It was to help my teaching. But people actually liked the feel of it and were willing to buy it. So I said, hey, I'm gonna start making them. So that's how in the fall of '07 is when I started making them and getting ready and to introduce it to the golf world at the PGA show in January of 2008.
Did you sell your first Orange Whip on the range with washers and all? What was the price of the first Orange Whip?
It was to the member. I was a teacher at a golf club called Edgartown Golf Club in Martha's Vineyard at this time. And I sold it to them for about $40 each, and they were happy to pay, and I was happy to take it. But it was about 40, and then I had to kind of clean my act up for the PGA show, so I had to figure out how to make it look better. So with the orange ball, what I did was I started using a drill press and hollowing out lacrosse balls. So it was an actual lacrosse ball. And if you've ever drill pressed a lacrosse ball, a lot of them, the smell is so bad because it's burning rubber. And I was in a small room doing this. And that was a tough time because it was just such a bad, brutal smell. And I'm doing that. And then I had a weight fixture. It was a fishing weight, kind of shaped like a football. And I'd epoxy that on a shaft. And I came up with a way to put the orange ball on so it wouldn't fly off. And then the counterweight was a harder one for me to solve at this point. I was using doorknobs I got at Home Depot filled with lead, and then I'd glue them on. And when I was getting ready for the PGA show, I was thinking, man, I don't want to show up with doorknobs in the end of this thing to the PGA show. And I kind of lucked out where I was in Massachusetts at the time before I moved down to Carolinas, and there's a billiard ball company up there that makes pool balls, and some guy just gave me some old beat-up pool balls he had because I was going to see if I could use that for a counterweight. And surprisingly, pool balls or cue balls are easier to drill into than you'd think. So I was able to drill some holes into it, epoxy that on the end of the fiberglass shaft, and that was my counterweight. The problem with that one, it looked cool. Like the company up there was able to get me a cool cue ball that they burnt in my Orange Whip name, and they had it all ready for me, so I just had to put them on. The problem was it was too big, and it didn't fit in the golf bag very well. So I had some early complaints about that. But then I switched to the steel ball, which is about a golf ball diameter. And cool. Ever since then, it's been smooth sailing with that.
I always joke, at least internally to my team at Bar for Success, I used to stand at the driving range at Hillendale Golf Course in Durham, North Carolina. I had an A-frame sign. It said $99 for an evaluation in 3 sessions. And you know how many of those I sold, Jim? A big fat 0. And so
no
early
kidding.
on, I mean, to your point, you got to figure out what your market wants, what how the messaging you use, little things like the cue ball just doesn't fit in the golf bag, so I think no matter what the entrepreneurial start is, there's always those sorts of stories, and
Well, for sure.
That was the heck
That's
of
too
a
bad.
steal.
Imagine
I'm
if they
telling
knew
you.
now
Yeah.
what they should
The
have known.
first guy I
then.
actually sold,
I know.
I sold him. I think it was $1,000 to meet with him once a week for like the entire year. By the time we got to August, he was like begging to pay me. He's like felt so bad. I said nope. I said I'm a man of my word. Nope. But those are some of our early stories. But I want to talk more because now if you look at what you have done with Orange Whip, you and the team there, I mean you've got certifications, there's workouts, there's fitness side, there's different types of trainers. You got the lights. I mean, how has this evolved? Like starting from some washers and cue balls to where you guys are now. What's that journey been like, and just taking people through and just understanding? Obviously, the evolution of the original Orange Whip was really about big swing and getting a feel. What has the move been here the last almost 2 decades?
Yeah. So with that original design and the balancing act of the two weights, when you swing it back and forth, you not only find rhythm, balance, and sequencing, but you're going to get it. The club wants to be on plane the way it's designed. It wants to be on plane. So people are getting that without even knowing it. So when we brought it out, we knew right away we'd have to probably have a slightly shorter one based on height or ability. So we had come up with the original Orange Whip trainer, which is roughly a driver length, and then we came out with one 4 inches shorter, but all the components are the same. So that's maybe for a shorter golfer or someone without the ability to handle the longer one. And so we were covering everything in that regard, but then we kept processing it down. It's like, you know what, there's junior golfers, and then there's no way they could use either of these two. So we made a lighter, shorter one for them. And we also then, we had a lot of people who, and we encouraged this to swing it, if you live in North Dakota in the winter, swing it indoors all winter and you'll never lose your golf swing. Well, we got some funny calls. Like somebody would say, hey, I love my Orange Whip, but I'm swinging it and I hit our chandelier. My wife is not happy about that. Or they break stuff. So we then created what we call the compact. So it's the same Orange Whip, it's just shorter and easier and safer to swing indoors. And then it just kept evolving because we wanted to go all golf, not just all full swing. So we then evolved into a device I call the Orange Peel. It's a platform that you stand on. It's stable, but it's got a concave surface. So basically, if you've looked and seen the Leonardo da Vinci painting called Vitruvian Man, which is just a big circle, and there's a man and there were 2 sets of arms and legs, and he's centered. But if you look at his feet, they're kind of cantered in like this based on the sphere. I thought, boy, if I could swing an Orange Whip inside of a bubble, that would be the best way to keep my core centered. I can still pivot, I can still shift weight, but I'm not moving laterally all over the place. But I didn't need the whole sphere, I just needed a small portion of it. So we brought out the Orange Peel to center and balance people while they trained with their Orange Whip or their golf clubs. And then I got to start. I started taking part in a lot of teaching summits where Orange Whip would be we'd pay to be a part of this teaching summit, and they'd give me some speaking time. So I'd get up there and I'd tell my story. I would show slides of my early days. I would bring in original versions of the Orange Whip. I would talk about all the development that had happened along the way and all the pitfalls and and the problems I run into. So I would do that. Well, at a couple of these events, Stan Utley was one of the guys they brought in as the short game guy. So I would listen. Everyone I would listen to, no matter what their presentation was, I can always learn more. So I'm always listening. Well, Stan was talking about stuff that was completely foreign to me in regards to the short game. And it's not foreign at all, but to me, learning the old school way with put the handle way ahead and just drag it through, well, that's a good way to learn to chunk and blade a lot of short game shots, which I was really good at. And he was talking about using the bounce, which I understood the bounce, but I didn't utilize it. But he was showing how to utilize it, how to use your body pivot and not really let those hands drag at all. So he and I developed a friendship, and we started talking about the Orange Whip. And he goes, Jimmy, I've watched you hit balls, and I've watched you chip now. He goes, it's a different person. You're not doing it even close to the same with your short game. He goes, but you should. Your ideas about the Orange Whip are perfect because they can go into the short game. You just need to understand it and learn it. And he goes, and because of that, I think we should take one of your orange whips, cut the ball off it, put a wedge head on it, and the physics should work the same. So we started to work with Stan Utley. We developed the Orange Whip wedge to allow people to have the same idea of loading and unloading and pivoting and allowing the club to swing rather than drag through the area. And that even moved in towards putting. And I created a putter head that's basically like a bullseye. It's right or left-handed, and it allows you to do the same rhythm, load and unload, and impact so that it becomes more natural. So basically, it's my pursuit of improvement of my game, my students' games, everyone. So it just kept evolving. And with this evolution, then we joined up with Brian Newman, he was a PGA golf professional. He was at a great club up in the Carolina Mountains, but his side gig was fitness. I mean, fitness. He's one of those guys who's that's what he does for fun. And he really developed an interesting program based on what he had learned through different fitness programs as well as golf fitness programs, and combined it with what we already had with the orange peel, with the orange whips. He did add some resistance bands to allow for more movement pattern changes or development. So it's what we're proud of is we basically tried to cover every aspect of golf on the physical side so that you can play the game mentally like we all hope to. It's where you can stay focused and not think about all the details of how you're swinging, or can your body handle this? Can it do this or that? So it's just been basically I'm a golf nut who wants to get better, and I want my students to get better. And if we can add some things tool-wise or products and or programs, that's what we're after.
I love the evolution of going, I think the peel, there's so much to cover. We got the peel, the wedge, the putter, fitness. I want to go back to, I want to save the peel and the fitness for last year, because all of you listening are listening to a fitness podcast, so we're going to make you wait for it. But also there's a lot that we're going to go into there that I think will be really, really insightful for everyone. So hang on, keep listening, everyone. But I really want to get into the wedge and the putter. To me, I thought is brilliant in that it's taking, I'm a big fan of like just keep it as simple as possible and trying to eliminate a lot of the thoughts and really just get a sense of the feeling. That was really insightful. You want to go back and highlight when you said, when Stan's watching you chip versus he's watching you swing, and they're two different humans. And he's like, no, dude, just do the same thing. And so I think fundamentally, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's really that a lot of, from the original whip to the wedge to the putter and all the products are really based around the same principles of the rhythm and the tempo and getting the body to move correctly. And if you do the stuff with the body in the right sequence and and tempos, that there'll be a consistent end result in terms of when the club hits the golf ball. Is that pretty accurate?
Very accurate, because ideally, I mean, once you're in a proper setup, be it a full swing or a chip shot, once you start making the movement, it shouldn't be a hand-eye coordination game as much as just a swinging of a mass through something, and the loft of the club and the way you've balanced your body, be it on a short game shot, maybe more on the lead foot, and on a driver, it's maybe more on the rear. So, yeah, it was really just the trust of that. But how do you apply that? Because when I first teach a beginner, their number one goal is just to hit the ball. They just want to hit the ball. But that tends to overrule what we're truly trying to get to is a free motion that is in balance. And yeah, that's why it applied so well to the short game. And because I was pretty sketchy around the greens, and once you get that bad demon in your head about the flinch or the blade or the chuck. So this is just a way to almost exaggerate the flaw until you learn to do the correct movement, and then it works beautifully, and then it becomes almost easy. So, yeah, we've been very proud of that, and it's been fun to watch a lot of people who struggled like I did start to turn that corner and trust it, because then you're having fun again playing. It's not when you struggle around some of those shots, it gets to be a difficult process.
Important thing for people listening to take away is it's by focusing more on, with these training aids, you're focusing on the inputs and the feel of what it feels like, and you're not. I think you get a lot of the hand-eye like trying to hit the ball when you're so like results or outcome oriented, and I think obviously short game, the result happens very, very quickly. At least with a full swing, you have maybe 3 seconds before it hits the ground, or it starts to go where you don't want it to go. But like with short game, you're not hitting it that far. So and so I think getting the feel, and I can attest too, of the fewer different swings you have. I mean, when I started playing, I had a putter set up and swing. I had a wedge set up and swing. I had, the 9-iron through the 7-iron were like swing, and then I had, there was multiple different swings. And then when you start, I think the better you get, you start to realize, well, it's all kind of the same. So, and so I think. So
exactly.
I think that's the brilliance to me
parallel
of the whole product line is it's principle based, and I think we try to do that on the fitness side, is identifying, hey, what are the core principles regardless of the golfer, whether they're 95, they're playing on the PGA Tour, or they're an 8-year-old touching a golf club for the first time. And obviously you guys have carried that through, from the original whip, to the wedge and the putter. I want to get into the peel and the fitness side, because I think for a lot of people listening, I even in the beginning I didn't have a full, like, clear understanding of the value of the peel, and that I would look at it and I'd say, and we've had the conversations at the just in person about fitness and the peel, and it is such a great tool for what we would term as transfer training, which is the ability of getting the body to move in the, whatever your physical skills are, your mobility, your strength, your power. If you can't get it out into a usable golf motion, it doesn't matter, right? That's where you get, guys like, I don't know, football players who can't outdrive Will Zalatoris, right? Maybe now they can. I think he just had another back surgery, but basically guys 3 times the size of other than they can't outdrive them. And so that, to me, I thought and I loved hearing the story of how you came up with the idea. It makes total sense. I'd love for you to just explain more of kind of what you've seen through the evolution of the peel, and obviously you've layered in now with the bands, because now you can use the resistance to assist a movement, and you can use it to resist a movement. Both are, depending on what your movement patterns you're trying to learn, are both very well researched and proven ways to improve movement pattern learning and change. So I'd love for you just to explain to people kind of how you have seen the best results with the peel and the bands, and using it to help golfers actually start to move in a way where they get what they would like to see out of their golf swing.
Yes. So, in going back to what I'd stated about with looking at the Leonardo da Vinci painting, Vitruvian Man, I thought I solved everything with the orange whip. Mm-hmm. But there was still, I could move laterally and other people could. When I looked at that painting and studied it, I said, well, if you could stand inside there and center yourself, it's going to be so much easier to make a repeatable balanced swing. So it really spawns from that, and allowing the body to still move like an athlete, but from, a bowl, basically. And that was really helpful, because I started seeing people start to recognize it much sooner. And I really was just training them to to swing an orange whip or a golf club from it, not necessarily hit golf balls. Because the dilemma is, when you do have the raised up walls a bit, you're a couple inches off the ground. So hitting a golf ball wasn't easy. But as I explored and tested it more, if you tee up a golf ball, it's very easy to do it that way. And so I've changed my tune on the thought of not hitting balls while on it, just swinging, the type of training to get that movement. But hitting balls from it became still a good function if you did it right. Now,
right? There's lots of great ideas and exercises and tools, but if you don't use them right, then they don't work.
That's exactly right. So then, before we even get to the fitness side with the peel, if you're standing on it, these are my feet, and the peel, I'm centered. If I move this way, I'm now in an uphill lie. So you can see what you need to do to get your body weight to get up the hill and you're off your back foot. If I move this way, I'm now in a downhill lie. And everybody practices on a flat driving range, and they go on their course, and there's hills and there's terrain, and they don't know how to balance properly. And also on the orange peel, you can move backward on it and get side heel lie ball below your feet, and then move forward, side heel lie ball above your feet. So you're always experimenting with how to stay balanced and rhythmic while on an unusual situation. But that can be to your benefit as well. If I want to help someone learn to draw the ball rather than slice it, I'll put them in a position to where ball above their feet, side heel lie, and they have to drop the club in. Or if I got a 19-year-old kid who drops it in and hits a 40-yard hook, I'll back him up and get it so he's a little more tilted forward, and his gravity and his balance points change. So that started out part of the development of how to play on the course. And then when I got to know Brian Newman, we played a tournament together in the Carolinas PGA, and he started telling me about what he's doing with resistance bands and how it helps move the body. I was very intrigued, and he was only about an hour away from our Orange Whip World headquarters, so he came down to visit us down there, and I introduced him more to the orange peel, and immediately you could see his mind functioning about attaching something there that would be the resistance band that would then attach to his belt. And this belt, he could put it on his right hip, and it could be attached to the front left of the orange peel. When he would turn back, there's a lot of resistance, but it's building a stable resistance. And then when he turned through, it's almost like somebody pulled that hip, and it rotated through faster. And you could go vice versa, where it's easy to go back, but then a bit of a resistance through. And there's applications that would be beneficial for swing training. Well, then he took it to the next level, and he had different band setups, these resistance bands, so that he would do a series of movements, either exercise types of movements or golf swing training movements that are going to work the body more for that particular benefit. And he developed it into a whole program of applicable movements that if a person does these a few times a week, they're going to train strength, coordination, and be healthier on their body, because there's, as you know very well, that there's movements that you can make that can certainly hurt yourself. And if we can train and strengthen the correct areas and movement patterns, we're less likely to get hurt and more likely to get better. So the evolution came with the orange peel, and Brian and I experimented with different thoughts and ideas. And then he just had the background with Pilates, with other fitness, golf, and cross training. So he took all he knew from that world, brought it over to what he knew in the golf world, and put it together to create a nice fitness program and training program, especially for those off seasons. I mean, again, going back to my North Dakota early days, I would put my clubs away in late October and wouldn't touch them again until March. Well, I had to relearn the golf swing every year.
Countless people, particularly up north, that staying engaged. I think that's one of the things that all of the whip products do. But obviously, the original Orange Whip in particular with a full swing, the kinesthetic, and I think everything that you're talking about, there's a emphasis on people kinesthetically learning. Right? There's three ways people learn. Right? You have your visual learners, your auditory learners, and then you have kinesthetic, and by doing and by experiencing. And I think that's what all of the products do so well, in my opinion, is they there's no choice, but you have to feel it. Otherwise, it doesn't, the whip will feel wrong, or it won't. Like when you feel it, there's an immediate feedback loop of oh, that was it, right? So there's that immediate, that was good, that was correct, or nope, that was not good, or that's not correct. And then taking it to the next level with the orange peel and having those assistance and resistance bands on there. Particularly, for those of you listening who have worked on, you've heard me yelling from the rooftops about the importance of the 4 rotary mobility centers. And, now that you've there's so many people that they'll improve their hip rotation, they'll improve their shoulder rotation, they'll improve their thoracic rotation, right? So now all of a sudden, they're checking all the boxes that they can rotate as much as they need to. But then you watch them swing, and I'm sure you've seen this on the lesson tee, and they look like a baby giraffe. They just don't know how to use it, right? and I think that's the value, in particular of the orange peel and those bands. Is it, to your point, it's going to centers you, it forces you to feel correct, quote unquote good, and then you can adjust it based on what your need is and your level of progression is. I think that's one of the. It's just been so cool to hear you talk through the progression of the products, but then knowing where it is today and the end result that it can get for people based on where they're at in their golf journey and what their needs may be. You certainly are are covering most, if not all, bases.
Oh yeah. No, and it's been fun. I mean, like I said, I'm a golf nut, and anything that I can do to improve my game and then help students or other players have more fun and play better is the key. And what's kind of interesting about the Orange Whip is I really designed it for the bad player. You know, it was my initial thought was I want the over-the-top slicers who struggle mightily with this game, can't learn the motion. And I still believe it's most important for them, but what was fairly interesting to me in that first year when I first started at the PGA show with it, I knew I wanted to go there and I wanted to share it with teachers, but I didn't really know what to expect or what they would think of it. But it turns out the better the player, the better the teacher, the more immediately they got it. I mean, within 5 swings, they'd look at me and go, oh, I get this. I feel this. I love it. And they already do it very well. You know, that's not a problem for them. And the higher handicappers still to this day, if they just pick one out of someone's bag and start flopping it around, it's bouncing off their back, they'll kind of go, I don't know what this is doing to me. But if I have a moment to spend with them, then it really turns out good because then I start to explain the philosophy and the concept. And after 5-10 minutes, they're like, oh, that feels incredible. So that's kind of my main mission to this day is like, how do I share it with your average player who needs it the most? But I need a little bit of their attention, and it's best if I'm in person, although that's not realistic every time. But it was fun for me because I knew the group of people I wanted to get it to, and there's way more bad golfers than there are good ones. But it was the good players who right away go, I get this. I know what this feeling is.
Because they've felt
awesome.
it before.
So
right?
it was
I think
fun.
that higher handicap player, they don't know what good feels like. And I think that's the beauty of when you do spend that time with them. And I've seen you do it at the show. And I've seen the eyes on those guys go like, oh my God. They get big and white. They're like, whoa, what is that? And you're like, well, that's what it's supposed to feel like. But I think that's, one of the things I'm really excited about, as we start to do more together, with you guys and giving more people those opportunities to understand and put you in front of more and more people and explain it to people that these tools are so good. It's the same thing in my world, in the fitness world, right? I can tell people how to squat. I can tell them how to deadlift. I can tell them how to, swing a club fast. But until they've done it the right way, they don't actually know what it feels like. And I think that's the beauty of a lot of the Orange Whip products is, and I think of a good training aid or a good training device is like, when you do it right, you're like, oh, like you don't need a 4-page manual. It's like when you do it, you're like, oh, that was it. Like, I got it. And I think that's the beauty of everything that you guys have done, Jim. But I want to be respectful of your time. Where is the best place for people to follow you guys? I know you guys put out a ton of great content. And then obviously also for people to go check out the amazing, products that you do have and get involved with you guys.
Yeah, so the best start is probably at our website at orangewhipgolf.com. And you can see a lot of the things we have there and then some descriptions and demonstrations of the products and how they fit into your golf game. Or just go into either YouTube and go up to at Orange Whip Golf. So it's always around Orange Whip Golf. And you can find a lot of stuff in social media with Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. But at Orange Whip Golf on YouTube is really good. There's probably hundreds of videos there. But it's fun stuff. It's educational. It's also basic usage issues, how to do it, what you're supposed to do with it. But a lot of the neat things about it is I've met many people where I'll demonstrate and I'll show the basic drills that I promote. But then I'll run into them a year later and they'll say, you know what else I've been doing with this? Here's what I've been doing. And they'll show me something. I go, wait a second, that's a great idea. I want to borrow that myself. So people have been able to take it to other levels. Even, for example, CJ Stroud, who's the quarterback for the Houston Texans, he has an Orange Whip, and in his pregame warm-ups, he has all these unique drills he does, but he takes the Orange Whip and swings it more on a horizontal plane, like a baseball bat, and he does a step pattern where he's stepping back like he's going to drop for a pass, and then he steps into it as you would throw the pass. And what I love about that is, and you know this well, that the transfer of the body weight is really what gets the momentum going of the club, rather than us trying to over the top it with the hands. So him showing this exaggerated footwork is really showing that you're loading up back here and then you're unloading here, but it's a movement of that body. So I love to see an athlete like a CJ Stroud, and now Cam Ward. Cam Ward's been doing it a lot lately as well. They're doing the basic athletic movement patterns that are also in the golf swing, but that are doing it for their particular sport. And from you and Par for Success and who you work with, I mean, it's a lot of golfers, but it's a lot of athletes that do a lot of these things, and you probably parallel a lot of these movements into
well, I think that's
what you
what I
have
think I'm
them
excited
working
about.
on.
So this is little teasers for you guys, but like we're already doing some work with the whips and looking at with an orange whip what are the best drills that we can look at to improve certain ground reaction forces and improve. We call them for those of you guys who've listened, the core four, right? The weight shift, the hips first movement, speed out front, like X factor stretch, right? Those sorts of elements. The reason why you're getting guys, overhead athletes, quarterbacks, like baseball players, like, is because the kinematic sequence doesn't change. It's the same exact kinematic sequence for golf, for baseball, for tennis. I know we were messing around down at the PGA show. There's lots of different applications, and that's why we're gonna have to have you on many more times to tell all the other people all about it. So,
I love to, and I love visiting your spot in Raleigh area. It's beautiful. Your location's awesome. So I'm excited because you really help me to explain what I just kind of see, but I don't have a background or a knowledge of it. So that's great for me to be able to, I just visualized something when I was caddying on tour, and then I started to make something to replicate that. But it's great to have someone like yourself who can explain why that's happening and what it does for
So
golfers
everyone
of every
listening,
different
we will put all
ability
those
level.
links in the show notes. So you can just go below in the podcast notes. If you're watching on YouTube, you can click there in the show notes. You can go get everything you can to learn about Orange Whip, see the different products. But ultimately, guys, what it will do for you is it will help you to train the core principles of the kinematic sequence, whether you're, no matter the sport. And if you're tall, if you're short, if you're a kid, if you're 95, whatever it is. And if, as always, if you guys have any questions on how to use anything, you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to push you guys over to Jim if I don't know the answer. But this is a great tool to add to the repertoire, in your arsenal for helping you to play the game of golf for as long as possible. So, Jim, thank you so much for coming on the Golf Fitness Bomb Squad, and I can't wait to have you on again soon.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll definitely be back on, and
Looking
look forward to seeing
everyone
you.
else, thanks so
someday
much for
soon.
spending the time listening here on the Golf Fitness Bomb Squad, and we'll catch you on the next episode.